Good evening. Welcome to the League of Women Voters Candidates Forum. Tonight we're in Ojai. You'll hear from two different sets of races. The first race will be the candidates for Ojai Mayor, and later on this evening you'll hear from the candidates for the Ojai City Council. I'm David Marin, a member of the League of Women Voters. Thank you all for coming tonight. And at this time I'd like to ask everybody to please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Hand over heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So go ahead, we have plenty of seats. Come on in and we'll get settled and get started. We randomly drew the assignments for where the candidates will sit. We're going to begin opening statements with you, Severo, in a few moments, and then Johnny, you'll be second. We'll reverse that at the end of the evening. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the president of the League of Women Voters, Betsy Patterson.
Thank you and welcome. League of Women Voters was founded almost 100 years ago in 1920 after the passage of the 19th Amendment giving women the right to vote. And those suffragists who had been working for 72 years to get that right realized now they had 27 million new voters who would probably benefit from some education since they'd never had any experience in the process of voting or evaluating candidates and issues. So the League of Women Voters was formed. And at that time and continuing today, it is a nonpartisan organization. We do not support or oppose any particular candidate. We do not support or oppose any particular political party. We are neutral. Our mission is to register voters, to educate voters so that they can go to the polls and vote wisely, and to encourage them to go to the polls and vote. We have online and printed materials about the ballot propositions, talking about pros and cons. We put on candidates forums such as tonight so that you have a chance, the voters have a chance to ask questions of the candidates to help them understand what their positions are on issues that are important to the citizens. And with that, I would like to say welcome and enjoy the candidates forum. As
Betsy mentioned, we have these forms out there at the membership table in the back. You can learn more about the league. Feel free to pick something up. Okay, candidates, I want to point out that we have our timers here. The opening statements are 2 minutes for each. We'll give you a little warning when you have about 30 seconds remaining and 15 seconds. So with that, let's get started. Severo Lara is our first candidate, 2 minutes.
Well, welcome everybody. My name is Severo Lara, and I am running for mayor for the city of Ojai. I want to acknowledge the League of Women's Voters for having us today. It's extremely important to me to support women. I come from a very strong female household. Unfortunately, she's not here physically, but she's definitely in my heart and in my spirit everywhere I go. So I truly believe in supporting their mission. I'm running for the mayor of Ojai because I believe that this leadership role has a responsibility to the citizens, to families, to young people, to seniors. And we have a responsibility to bring issues such as economy, affordable housing, water to the table and not be afraid to collaborate. We have an opportunity here in Ojai to work together and resolve some of these issues.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Johnny Johnston.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody, and thank you to the league. I have looked forward to this particular venue because they, year in and year out, do the best job in our area for educating the voters and encouraging people to vote. I retired from a career as CEO in both the public and the private sector. One of the tasks I had when I first moved to Ojai is I came here as city manager. I retired from the county as the CEO about 10 years ago, and I sort of wanted to stay in that retirement, but about a year and a half ago, I became concerned about a number of things, and so I came out of retirement. My biggest fear, having spent about 40 years trying to keep Ojai, as they say, Ojai, nothing stands still, but there is a certain refreshing uniqueness about our town that I think we have both a right and a responsibility to protect. And I think it's to everyone's advantage for the city council to be doing just that. Without Ojai being Ojai, we're not the Magic Kingdom in the sense of having rides and, like Knott's Berry Farm. We're a real town, and what brings people here is because we're a real town, and I think maybe a little nostalgia, a little charm brings them here. But if we allow ourselves to be turned into a commodity rather than remain the community that we are, I think everybody loses, including the commercial ventures. So with that as an introduction, I'll be happy to be answering the questions and telling you more about what I've done and what I plan to do.
Okay, thank you. Candidates, as a reminder, for your answers, you'll have a minute and a half. Same thing with our timers. Let's get started, and before we do that, I'd just like to make one request. We ask at the League that they all hold our applause to the very end. So that way we just keep things moving. It makes it more comfortable. Johnny, we're going to start with you. So please tell us about the water issues here in Ojai. Maybe tell us how many meetings you've been to. What are your plans and views on the water situation?
Okay, when I ran for office and was elected about 20 months ago, I ran on a platform that what is now rather obvious to all of us, and that is the extended drought and water as being the primary issue that we have to deal with. It's particularly complicated because the city of Ojai does not purvey water, it doesn't produce water, it doesn't store water. We use water, but we are the only elected body, general elected body in the valley, so we have a special responsibility to try to encourage collaboration between agencies. I serve on the Groundwater Basin Board, which is right beneath our feet, and it's got 50,000 acre feet of it down there, which is a fairly good reserve for now. But if we don't get rain, we've got 2 to 3 years to sort of figure out what we're going to do to stabilize and make secure our water supply. I also represent all of the cities as the alternate on the board of directors for the Association of Water Agencies throughout the county. And one of our big challenges is we have 27 agencies that affect water in the Ojai Valley and about 170 throughout the county. And there is no legal coordination other than the governor, other than us getting together and solving this problem, as partners.
Thank you. Severo, same question to you. Tell us about your thoughts on water and what type of meetings are you attending?
Water is a crucial need for any community, including Ojai. I think we are unique in the sense that we aren't connected to state water and that we get our water from our basin and from our lake, our man-made lake. When I was on council, we looked at different ways that we could conserve water. We looked at different ways to collaborate with other organizations. We had 2 very active council members that were attending constant water meetings and providing the information to the rest of the council. I was also the alternate for the Ojai Basin Water Management Agency when I was a council member my first year. So I know the process, I understand it. I think it's more important that we focus on what we're doing to address it. And when I was on council, we were very active as a team, as a council, to come up with solutions. And one of the ones that we were really focusing is the low-hanging fruit. And unfortunately, that low-hanging fruit has been lost the last 2 years. So I think that when I become mayor, it would be my priority to really push for that and work with the council members that are actively working right now on water issues.
I have to stop you there, Severo. Thank you, but we will begin the next question with you. Severo, there's 2 Ojai ballot measures, 2 measures on the ballot concerning the office of mayor. So what do you feel are the pros and cons of an elected mayor versus an appointed mayor from the 5 council members? Tell us your position.
My position for the two measures is all about consistency. That's my biggest concern. Whether it be elected or appointed, I think we need to add a rule in there that adds for maybe a 2-year position or a 2-year appointed. Because what I saw when I was observing the council before I got on council is that every year, leadership priorities, everything changes. Mindset, the way you run meeting, the way you set the meeting. And what that causes is less progress on tough issues. We lose a sense of our priorities. So I think that I could live with the mayor position being appointed as long as we have it at least a 2-year. And if we decide to elect the mayor, then I think that, it would add some type of consistency also.
Thank you. Same question to you, Johnny. What are your positions on the mayor, the measures on the ballot, and pros and cons?
Okay, well, I wrote the argument to say that we should keep it an elected mayor, not because it's such a pleasure to run every 2 years. I think that's the negative. It's expensive, it takes a lot of energy. But the value of electing the mayor is it gives the citizens an opportunity to have a choice between what the candidates say. When you vote for 3 or 2 people on the council, you may or may not know what their individual stands are on issues. But in a head-to-head, like between Severo and me, that there are choices. We should both express our visions, show what our credentials are, where we want the town to go, and then when the citizens vote, they will tell the council who they agree with. Hopefully that would be of some influence as to the decisions the council makes. But frankly, it's a 1 vote out of 5. The mayor is the same. The real big deal is running the meetings, being the chairman of the council meetings, trying to provide transparency, civility, and brevity if possible.
Thank you. Johnny, we'll start the next question with you. Actually, both of you have served on the council or as mayor. So the question is asking about the experience. What have you learned from that? How will that maybe help you in this next cycle if you're elected? So the question is, what have you learned as from your previous term on the council? How will that affect your future service, and how have you adjusted? Johnny, you're first.
Okay, well, I don't know that I would say I learned it by being on the council, but it was emphasized. It's a collegial activity, 5 votes. And you need 3 votes to do much of anything. And getting along and getting to know each other is very important. And it's always difficult when you start, and when a mayor has only, really less than 2 years to get acquainted and to do things before they have to stand for election again. But getting to know the council, getting to know both sides of the issues from the different perspectives on the council is very helpful to improve the learning curve. So I feel like I have the opportunity to hit the ground running, even though it's only a 2-year term.
Thank you. Severo, same question to you. What did you learn from your previous time on the council?
It's a great question. What have I learned? I learned so much from being the appointed mayor for the city of Ojai. I think the biggest thing that I take from that experience is organizing and prioritizing from the beginning. I did that, but the issue is that we prioritized everything. So I think this time we need to look outside the box and really talk about cooperative leadership. How we could address these issues together, not just as council members or staff, but with other organizations. And I think that that would be my priority in order for us to address some issues that affect ordinary people. Because there are issues right now. One of the most issues I hear is we can't live here. There's no jobs for us. What are we going to do to address that in a cooperative way?
Okay, that'll segue into this next question. Severo, you're up first. What are your plans? What will you do to support affordable housing?
When I was on council, we had a active affordable housing committee that had laid out a number of options. Now, they really did their research, they really did their homework, and actually, one of the options, Mayor Johnston actually ran with it because they did that good of a job. Unfortunately, it hasn't come up to the dais since it's been presented, but I'm sure it will. But I would actually go back to that and look at what, reassess it, evaluate it again. But not only that, reach out to the community, reach out to different organizations of how we could work at adding units that are affordable. And there's not a one solution fits all. We have to be open to different opportunities because Ojai is unique. Not one solution fits Ojai.
Thank you. Same question to you, Johnny. What are your plans for affordable housing?
Well, for the last year and a half, I've been working with Bill Miley, also a person who's worked on the housing issues here in the city. In my private industry career, I was a developer builder of affordable housing, or attempted to. And what I learned is that it's all driven by the price of real estate. So to make housing affordable in the little city of Ojai, of 4.3 square miles, you are talking about subsidizing. And who benefits from the subsidies? We have limited resources as a city, but what Bill and I have been working on is we have a lot that is only for affordable housing, and we are working with Nick Oatley, doing some preliminary design. And we just recently, I proposed that we join the Housing Trust Fund that's countywide, and 9 cities belong to it in the county. We were the only city that hadn't joined. We're now a part of that. I've met with those people, and they have agreed that we have a really good project which they would be happy to sponsor and to provide below market rate loans, which also helps. So between the donation of the land and a low interest loan, I think we can build a few units, but it will not solve the problem citywide or valley-wide. And no one in California yet has figured it out, but we are doing our best.
Okay, thank you. We're going to start the next question with you, Johnny. Obviously, a very important issue in the valley was the Thomas Fire. And the question is, what are some of your plans to support long-term recovery, and especially for individuals and businesses? And also, what are your thoughts about emergency response in the future?
Well, my first thought about the emergency response is I think that we are blessed to live in a valley and a fire protection district with a mutual aid program that's second to none. We didn't lose any structures, no one was injured, or there were no deaths, there was no looting, and the evacuation of the valley, our family was evacuated twice mandatorily, and everybody, not just in our family, but everybody in the valley really did a good job of able to get out. What I am doing about that is that we have a disaster council, which the mayor is the chair. And when I asked about this, it was sort of an inactive thing that basically approved a plan once a year and sent it in. We now meet about every 2 months. We are planning a tabletop drill to see how well we are performing. That will be next month. At least I hope the staff puts it on, gets it in on time. But the sheriff's department, the fire department, members of the community, people like our newspaper owner Bob Daddy, the retired fire chief, and I meet fairly regularly now, trying to come up with a plan to both educate the public that you need to be what they call ready, set, go. You're going to be on your own. By that I mean, when it starts, you have to be prepared for a few days to take care of yourself while the fire departments and the police department are doing the rest. After that, you know, we have a fairly substantial plan in place, and I think we're blessed to live in this valley.
Thank you. Severo, same question to you. What are your thoughts on long-term recovery for both individuals and business, and also emergency response?
When I think about the Thomas Fire, I think about families, my friends, my neighbors, senior citizens. I think about those people. That's the first thing I thought when I heard about the fire that started at St. Thomas Aquinas. And it impacted me in many ways. Not only did I have to get my girls to safety, but I could not stay away from Ojai. And I felt that the police department and the fire department were doing an excellent job. Actually, I felt a lot of people ended up contacting me because they wanted to know where to get information. So I contacted the city manager, and then I started working with other individuals to see what we could do to get the communication out. And I have to say that working with the Ojai Valley Green Coalition, we reached tens of thousands of views dispersing information about the Thomas Fire. I also am on board of the Help of Ojai. I cannot say how much work we did staff did a wonderful job, and they continue to do a job helping and assisting fire victims. We need to start thinking about the next emergency and how we communicate with the people of the city, because I think that was a huge mistake of us as a city and as a former
Thank you, Severo. We have to start the next question, and you're up first this time. So let's talk about your vision for the valley, for Ojai, as far as growth. So it seems like Ojai is becoming a town for retirees. What can we do to address the growing lack of diversity in our town, and how can we grow to sustain our economy?
You're absolutely right. We have not really increased any populations for, I want to say, 10 years. It's very minimal. Maybe 100 people. But it's a really good question, because you got to step back and look at it at a holistic view. Not only do we have to address units of not affordable units, I think we average about one guest house or ADU, what they call, per year. I mean, we don't build enough. We also have to think about our economic sustainability. We need to start working with our local Chamber of Commerce. We have to start working with the Board of Realtors, with local businesses, with families, with the school district, with the hospital, to see how we could keep a vibrant community together, because we need to. I grew up in this community, and a lot of my friends cannot live here. So we need to figure out other ways that we could accommodate some type of growth. I do believe in small town character, but so there has to be a balance on how far we grow.
Thank you. Johnny, same question to you. Ojai seems to be becoming a town for retirees. How can you address the growing lack of diversity? How can the city grow?
Well, in a minute and a half, I can't tell you. I regret to say that. The demographics and the concentration of wealth seems to be moving towards the older generation. They're the ones that are driving the price of real estate up. We are in a free market. How we go about that, I think what the city council needs to do is not make decisions that aggravate what is already a problem, to be sure that we're not actually pumping the price of real estate rather than trying to contain it. Otherwise, you can't have affordable housing. And I think the presumption that we have a bad economy is false right now. I think we are probably at the peak. What I worry about is we're living at the peak, and when we go into contraction or recession, we need to be prepared for that. And that is something that I have spent a career doing in the government, was turning around city budgets and municipal finance. And I think that the city is doing all right. But I don't think it's going to be doing all right if we don't recognize that it's not always going to be this good. Right now, we have the highest per capita income in our general fund of any of the cities in Ventura County. So I don't see it as the economy is being bad, but and I'm not sure what we can do about the demographics. Younger people aren't having as many children, and they do not have as much money as the old people. So it's something we should work on, but I don't have an answer for that.
Okay, Johnny, thank you. We'll move on to the next question. We have several on water. This one's another category of water. So if there are water reductions, farmers may have to make sacrifices and see their allotments reduced dramatically. So what land use ideas do you have to help farmers either service their crops or to keep their open space and large lots? What do you see as the future with farming due to the water shortage?
Well, one, we don't have much agriculture inside the city, in fact, almost none. So as mayor, that's not my authority or responsibility. However, I have a lot of friends who are in agriculture, and one recently had said to me, you know, if it doesn't rain, agriculture as we know it is going to be gone. But I think that if we can sort of ramp down, and I think it's going on right now amongst the farmers, they're business people who understand agribiz, and they are converting to different crops. It's a very painful and expensive proposition, and maybe those of us who are, no, I shouldn't say of us, I'm not overusing my water, but those who pay the penalties during the drought, that money maybe should be devoted towards helping the agricultural conversion of land to different uses. You can't continue raising tropical fruit in a Mediterranean climate that's in drought almost continuously.
Okay, thank you. Severo, same question to you. If farmers see significant cutbacks, what are your ideas about how to help them and what to do with the open space and large lots?
What could we do to help local farmers? I know they're not in the city limits, but we definitely have to think about our valley. It's a responsibility as elected official, especially as a mayor of the city of Ojai, to include them in any decision you're making. I just heard a great idea from an individual in the audience, her name Michelle, about starting a local farmers market in the middle of the week where we could sell local produce in Ojai. We got to think outside the box. We got to start working and asking local nonprofits such as Food for Thought, Regenerative Agriculture. I mean, it's here. We have the ability to impact our farmers in a positive way if we reach out and be inclusive and begin to work with them in order to support them, even if they're not inside the city limits.
Thank you. Severo, next question, starting with you. Apparently at a previous council forum, there was a discussion from one or more of the candidates about collaboration with county agencies, that maybe that would be a solution to some problems. So tell us, how important do you think collaboration is with the county, and what particular areas would you pursue?
It's essential to work with county agencies. I used to sit on one called Ventura County Transportation Agency, where they had an impact on the way our trolley operated and cost. And it was vital for one of us to be on that board in order to bring that issue to the table and have a discussion. And I did, with the support of my fellow council members at the time, and we got the support from the county agencies. Another area that I would focus on is on the general plan. That has a huge impact on our city. Even though it's a county area, it has a extremely important impact on how we grow, our character, our business, everything. So we need to begin this type of open type of meeting, be more transparent, be more open about it, inform the public. But I'm a true believer in working with county agencies.
Thank you. Johnny, same question to you about collaborating with county agencies. How important? What do you see happening?
Well, when you say county agencies, I assume you mean agencies throughout the county, not just the county government. Is that correct?
The question doesn't specify. It
Okay,
just
well, I'll
says
answer
was-
it that way.
yeah.
I believe that collaboration is the only answer to most of our big problems. You know, the issue of fire threat to the valley requires us to be in constant contact with other agencies within the county, special districts. I probably attend, I would say, 5 to 10 meetings a month with every water person I can talk with and every forum that's presented. I meet with the Watershed Protection Agency, which is not only a part of the water supply, but it's also part of the flood protection. When you're 4.3 square miles and 7,500 people, you know, you need to get along with your neighbors. And one of the things that Ojai has suffered from when I was managing the county is that we were thought of as the kooks and the spoiled children up here who thought we were so different that we didn't have to follow other rules. Well, that's not true, and we know that's not true, but we have to be careful how we treat the other agencies and how we talk to them, because it's hard to collaborate when somebody is accusing you or insulting you, and that's kind of the way the county feels.
Okay, thank you, Johnny. We'll try another question here. Now, this is probably going to get into the weeds a bit, but I think if you could answer it from the more philosophical, larger perspective. Do you see a possibility of allowing the broader valley to vote for city council, since they are affected by city council actions? And I realize there is a Ojai Valley Municipal Advisory Council. There's technical reasons, but maybe you could just talk about your views.
Well, my view is, and it's the law of the state of California, that municipalities are corporations and you have to be a stockholder in the corporation to vote. When I came here many years ago, one of the first things I proposed is to say we should all be one large community with everybody voting. It not only didn't go over real popular with the incumbents on the city council when I was their city manager, but in our neighbors who immediately were offended that Ojai was trying to take them over. The explanation I was given was that like the Hatfields and the McCoys, something happened 100 years ago where a chicken was stolen and Miners Oaks didn't want to be resented Ojai and Ojai resented Miners Oaks. I don't know if that's true or not, but about 10 years later, Jim Lobel tried it, and he ran into the same thing. About 25 years later, Andy Belknap tried it. Everybody wants to vote, but they don't necessarily want to join the club and pay the taxes. It won't be more taxes, just how they divide the pie up. But I have offered to people who have brought that subject up at the Chautauqua that I used to work for my father's firm who specialized in annexations and incorporation of cities, and I would be happy to work with them. But that conversation didn't go anyplace as the person drifted away quite quickly. But if there's anybody out there that would like to form a committee to join the city, I think it's in everybody's interest to let them vote.
Thank you. Severo, let's hear what you think about allowing the broader valley to participate or vote for city council.
Would I allow the broader valley to vote for a council member? This one's a tough one because I also agree that you kind of have to have the same rules applied to yourself because we're all about land use here. We regulate different zones, and the ones that are impacted are the ones that live here. But I also do believe that we do have a huge influence on other people, or in other jurisdictions. And I think that we have to be open-minded how we work with them. And we could definitely think about having which we already do, non-residential commissioners and hear their perspectives. So that could be a solution. I mean, what we have currently could definitely be a solution. But if I don't hear really the people outside of the city limits not wanting to be part of the city, then I think I would not do anything unless I really do hear a concern from outside residents that they want the opportunity to vote in Ojai.
Okay, thank you. Candidates, we're going to have to stop there, and we'll go into closing statements in just a moment. But I do want to share with you, I'm sorry I couldn't get to all the questions, but a couple of questions that I did not get to. One was the just general question, does Ojai really have the resources to grow? Could it support more people, water and other things? So that was a question on people's minds. Also, under what circumstances would you take monies allocated for water issue education and perhaps use those for other projects in the city? So sorry we didn't get to those. Good questions as well. You're going to have 2 minutes for your closing statements, but before we do that, I'd like to just take a moment to recognize all the volunteers from the league that are here tonight helping us put this on. And I'll share with you their names. So we have Betsy Patterson, you met earlier when she spoke. We have Pat Essick, Jane Spiller, Doris is helping with membership at the back, and Roger is back there as well. Cheryl and Sharon are up here with me doing some sorting. Jane was working with Betsy on the timing. Carol helps set up everything as always, and Sage has also been helping with the cards. So how about another round of applause for all those volunteers? So with that, we'll go in the reverse order. Jonna, you'll be first. You have 2 minutes for the closing statement. 2 minutes, timers.
Okay, well, I'd like to go back to the last question. It was phrased that you have to sort of, why can't they vote? Somebody said at a meeting, why have we been disenfranchised in the Valley and not be able to vote? And I say, well, first you got to be franchised before you can be disenfranchised. So that's a matter of legal technique. My days are spent probably 90% dealing with people who don't live in the city, which is fine. I have office hours. 90% of the people come in and talk to me. I live outside the city, council meetings. Probably during public comment, we get about 80 to 90% of people. And that's great because we affect one another. And we need to be sensitive to what we do, how it affects them, and they need to be educated as to how what they do affects us. So I don't have a problem with that, and I'd love to have them join the city. I'll just say this in closing, that I have the education, the experience, the history of the Valley and the city to do the job that I have been doing, and I believe that I'm in the best position to meet the challenges we're faced with, both drought, air pollution problems, fire danger, and I'm more than willing to spend another 2 years trying to do the job if you folks are willing to vote for me, and I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next candidate is Severo Lara.
I'm a native of Ojai. I have 2 beautiful daughters. I am a local business owner. I understand the values of this community. As a previous appointed mayor for the city of Ojai, I worked hard to build relationships with staff, with fellow council members, with different organizations, and the community. And we brought a lot of issues, such as affordable housing, such as vacation rentals, when I was appointed mayor, that had been kicked down the road for 6+ years. I decided to run again for council because I see a sense of urgency, of division, and we need to start addressing those issues right now. Not just for the present, but for our future. Thank you.
Thank you. How about a round of applause for the candidates? Stay a second. So one more thing, as far as this video will be available on the city's YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube and search for Ojai City. It'll be available there. It'll also be airing on Channel 10 repeatedly over the next few weeks. And this is really a strange announcement, but I thought it was important. So tomorrow at about 11 o'clock here in the area, the presidential alert will be going on your cell phones. Everybody's cell phone's going to ring. If you're not aware of it, don't be surprised. You don't have to do anything. I just thought I'd make a little public service announcement about that. So with that, we're going to take about a 5-minute break.
David, may I make one announcement too, a public announcement? Tomorrow is Clean Energy Day. Try not to drive your car and pollute the air if at all possible.
Okay, so we'll have the city council candidates please come up. Thank you.